When I was 18, I worked that summer as a cocktail waitress in a resort in the Poconos. I mainly worked poolside, taking drink orders from the people on the lounge chairs by the pool. It turned out to be a sweltering summer, a record heat wave. As a result, all of my potential customers wound up in the swimming pool trying to cool off. Basically, nobody was lounging on those lounge chairs. It was too damn hot. I had no customers. I had no drink orders. The record heat wave had dried up my sales opportunities. Me and my fellow cocktail waitresses, we were sweating, miserable, depressed. So one day at lunch, I showed up with a water pistol. It was hot, and I figured it'd be a fun way to cool off. And every time one of my fellow cocktail waitresses started to complain about how hot it was, how we had no customers, nobody was on those lounge chairs, it was too hot, I'd squirt them. And then soon we just started to laugh and joke around. And it was during this time of joking around that I came up with a big money-making opportunity. In fact, I said it as a joke. After lunch, I stripped down, just in my bathing suit. The resort had us wear these little apron uniforms over our bathing suit. So I took off the apron uniform, I had my bathing suit, and then I grabbed my drink tray and my pad to take orders, and I waded into the pool. I went to where the customers were, and I started to take drink orders. I became the swimming cocktail waitress. And my customers loved it. They loved the convenience of having this cocktail waitress bringing them their drinks in the swimming pool and the absurdity of a swimming cocktail waitress. And I loved it too. I was finally making some money, and I got a nice, refreshing swim in. And the management loved it. So for the rest of the summer, I became their swimming cocktail waitress. So what's the business lesson to be learned here? Having fun and being playful can be very profitable. You don't need to work longer hours to make more money. You just need to work more fun hours. In fact, I think some of the best business ideas come in the fun zone. Now, meditation has been said to relieve stress and increase clarity. I think that fun is meditation on steroids. Now, coming up, I'm going to be giving you some fun tools to bring to work. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the human brain on stress. Whoops. This is your brain on stress. It creates very fuzzy thinking. Researchers say that when you're in a stress survival state, that you can lose as much as 80% of your ability to think clearly. And if your heartbeat comes over 100 beats per minute, you can have a hard time processing what other people are saying or coming up with the right words to say yourself. So actually, if I start to stutter or forget what I'm about to say while giving this TED talk, it's because my heartbeat is like above the 100 beat per minute. Anyway, this daily stress can create a big problem at work, a little something called presenteeism. Presenteeism is that when you show up at work, but you're so exhausted, you're so distracted, you're depressed, you're disengaged, that you can't think clearly. Your brain is fuzzy, and you can't get really any good work done. Gallup estimates that presenteeism and its accompanying disengagement are responsible for more than $300 billion in lost productivity in the U.S. annually. Now, it's funny because a lot of employers think that absenteeism is something to be afraid of. They don't want people to be absent from work. But actually, presenteeism is a far greater danger. The Journal of Occupation and Environmental Medicine reports that presenteeism costs employers as much as 3 times the dollar amount as absenteeism does. So employers who are afraid of having their employees be absent should not be afraid of it. It's far worse not to give your employees a day off or take a day off yourself if you're the one that runs the company. And it's far worse not to take a vacation. It's far worse to pull constant all-nighters trying to get a project done or take a red eye somewhere to a meeting and then hit the ground running. In fact, here's an interesting fact about sleep deprivation from Charles Shesler, who's an expert on sleep deprivation at Harvard. He says that workaholism can be as bad for productivity as alcoholism, like literally, well, sort of literally, because he says that 24 hours without sleep or a week of sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night induces an impairment equivalent of a small blood alcohol level. Now, I know personally what it's like to be punch drunk tired, because I used to work in advertising. Land of all-nighters, land of all weekenders. In fact, I had this one boss in an ad agency who used to joke, if you don't come in on Saturday, don't bother coming in on Sunday. Only actually he wasn't joking when he said it. So in that same ad agency, I had this wonderful art director named Scott. And Scott used to love to pour me lots and lots of coffee, not just to keep me energized, but actually Scott's main purpose was to motivate me to go to the restroom on purpose. Yeah. See, what would happen was I'd go to the restroom and I'd always come back with my most creative ideas. I'd come back from the restroom and I'd go, I cracked the code, I got the tagline, you know? In fact, I came up with some of my best creative ideas so often that Scott and I came up with a name for these epiphanies. We renamed them epiphanies. Now, I couldn't figure out why this kept happening, but eventually I figured out why I'd suddenly get so smart in the restroom. It was because I was so overworked, so overwhelmed, so much of the time that the restroom was pretty much the only time I could find to just sit and rest. It was literally the rest room. I'd get in there, I'd sit, finally alone, breathe, relax. Epiphany. So I believe that more companies need to make sure that they're not exhausting employees so much that they're working people stupid. More companies need to create a daily fun practice because fun is a high-performance fuel. And recently, there's been a lot of studies supporting the power of fun. And here's one. Researchers at University of Western Ontario studied the effects of funny YouTube videos versus sad music and sad news clips on people. And guess what? Watching fun stuff made people better at mentally challenging tasks like number puzzles and all this kind of stuff. So basically, you know all that fun time-wasting stuff you do? It's supercharging your brain. Now, I personally also know the power of supercharging your brain with fun stuff ever since my little guy, Ari, was born, my son Ari. He's now almost 3. And since he was born, I've had a lot less free time to work because I'm a mommy now. You know, these days my workday has to end at 5:30 because I got to pick up my little dude at daycare. So I've had less free time to work than ever before, and I've been more productive than ever before. And I believe it's because I wake up every morning and the first thing I do is start playing with my son and giggling. It's a lot of mornings I wake up and the first thing I do is I start to dance with a gummy bear. Because my son's favorite YouTube video right now is Gummy Gangnam Style. Where the gummy bear's like dancing to Gangnam Style. Well, I can't do it. My son is much better at the dance than I am, so I won't even go there. So we'll do that in the morning. That's very good. And we'll do that in the morning, or sometimes we'll play with Legos, or sometimes in the morning we'll go to the park and we'll blow bubbles. Or we'll play with Play-Doh and make little Play-Doh animals. And then I'll take my son to daycare, drop him off, and I'll begin to work. And I find myself supercharged with creative ideas. Now, I absolutely credit my son for playing with him as being my creative rocket fuel for the rest of the day. But when I look back and I think of all the times that I've been my most creative and most productive, it's because I'm having fun. I'm having fun. Now, I've published over 30 books, and a lot of people call me disciplined, but I don't see it as discipline. The secret of my productivity is that I try to find projects that I think are fun, but even more importantly, I try to find fun people to work with. So what usually happens is we sit around, we laugh for a while, we laugh, and then we look at the clock and we go, oops, we forgot to work. And then we crack down and we start working, only it doesn't feel like work because we're in the fun zone. I call it the fun zone. A lot of people call it, you're in flow. I call it the fun zone. And I also have another name for it. I call it my ice cream theory on productivity. Okay, so what do I mean by that? If I gave you a pint of ice cream and a spoon, and I said, okay, I want that entire pint finished in 1 hour, I'll be back. You better have it finished, right? And then I showed up an hour later, and I say, okay, now did you finish that ice cream? Of course you would have finished it. Not because you were showing discipline. It doesn't take discipline to keep spooning and spooning ice cream. You keep spooning and spooning because you want to spoon the ice cream. Well, that's how I feel when I'm working with somebody fun. I keep wanting to spoon up the project. So this actually brings me to an interesting fact on the importance of having fun people to work with. This is a researched fact from Gallup. People with the best friend at work are 7 times more likely to be engaged in their job. They get more done in less time. They also have more engaged customers and are more likely to innovate and share new ideas. It's important to surround yourself with people that you like and that are fun. Also, people with at least 3 close friends at work were 96 more likely to be extremely satisfied with their lives. So what's the big business lesson here? Companies need to encourage friendships at work. How do you do this? You have events outside of work, sports games, you go on trips together, and in general, you should be out of the office a lot. I mean, it's good to get outside of the office with the people that you work with. I mean, I even know as a writer, I like to get out of my office, and a lot of my best ideas have shown up on crumpled napkins. I have just as much work done on crumpled napkins as my laptop. And these days, I do meetings as walking meetings. I live in New York, and if somebody wants to do a meeting with me, I'll say, yeah, you know what, come meet me on the High Line. There's this great long place to walk. And we'll do our meeting walking and talking on the High Line. We do a walking meeting. I definitely recommend it. Which brings me to another fun fact, or actually a kind of not so fun fact, which is that a recent study said that 85% of people surveyed hated meetings. So if we hate meetings, and meetings have to be part of our job, we might as well try to make them fun, right? So how do we do that? You can put Play-Doh on the table, it makes a great stress ball. Put down colorful magic markers for people to take their notes, or invite a mariachi band. Now guess what? This is a photo of Zappos offices. Tony Hsieh, who I adore and respect, he knows the power of fun. And as everybody knows, Zappos is wildly successful, so that supports the power of fun. Tony does a lot of things, random things like having mariachi people show up in the office one day. So they're definitely a company that shows the power of fun, and so is Google. Google has what I call fun shui. So I don't know if any of you have seen any of Google's offices. This is just a picture of one of them. Look at that. I mean, it's hard not to feel like you're going to be creative and energized in a fun atmosphere like that. Now, if you don't have the budget, to put a gigantic slide in your office, right? There's still ways that you can create fun shui at work. Now, you can put up fun posters, funny posters, or you could come up with funny awards for people. And keep switching up the awards and put them on a wall somewhere. Which brings me to another fun idea. And that is that you should be sure that you're always celebrating the small successes on the way to the big successes. So every time you reach a little milestone, give a gift, an award, a reward or something. Show appreciation. And if you work for yourself, do it for yourself. This is what I do when I'm celebrating a little milestone. I go for a little appreciation pedicure for myself. But, you know, you could do it your way, you know, get concert tickets for something that you wanted to see. The point is to give yourself like these little rewards along the way, which brings me to a very interesting study on radiologists. There are two different groups of radiologists. One group got a small gift, and the other group got bupkis, as we say in New York. And the group who received the gift made faster and more accurate diagnoses. And researchers believed that the small gift elevated the doctor's mood, which thereby elevated their performance. So with this in mind, I suggest that if you're going to have a root canal done, maybe you bring your dentist a little small gift before the root canal. So, you know, so you make sure he does the most accurate root canal possible. Okay, I'm joking, but I'm sort of serious. But I'm very serious about the power of joking and laughing and having fun at work. Which brings me to my big point for my talk today. That I believe that you can tell how successful your life is by how much you want to get out of bed in the morning. And if you prioritize fun at work, you get excited to get out of bed. If you prioritize fun at work, then you create both emotional success for yourself as a human being, as well as monetary success for your company. You don't need to be a workaholic to be more productive. You need to be a funaholic. I believe that the same way that people prioritize a daily meditation practice to relieve stress and increase clarity, it's time to prioritize a daily practice of fun at work. Thank you.